Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. We're going to do a video on some mid and late summer flowering perennials. And I've got Arden and Steve from Northcreek Nurseries. If you've been following along with the channel, we put up a tour video of this nursery before you're watching this. You definitely want to go back and watch it. This is an amazing wholesale nursery, but I think you get a lot out of it. Their emphasis on a lot of native plants and ecological, biological controls in their houses instead of chemicals. I think you get a lot out of that. But this video is going to be specifically about perennials that for mid and late summer. Why would we want things blooming in the late summer?
Well, pollinators have to eat, not just in the middle of the summertime when everything's blooming, but, both in the springtime and in the fall to make their migration patterns. Right,
yeah, and that's the thing is we tend to shop for plants. People pull into the garden center April 15th, and whatever's flowering, they go home with a truckload of it. And then our gardens do this, and then they do this.
Yep.
So it's super important here late in the season. Maybe they're migrating back. So there's been an emphasis recently on obviously plants that have flowers for pollinators, and then of course the fennel and asclepias and the other things that the caterpillars might eat. But there's not really this big emphasis on also making sure we have fall blooming things in our garden, nectar sources in the garden. So let's go. Can you go through a few?
Oh, absolutely. So here we have Solidago. That's Solidago fistulosa. That's a selection given to us by Mount Cuba Center. We're finishing up their Solidago trial very shortly. Solidago just blooms through late summer and into late autumn. Yeah. We also have another great Vernonia. This is Texana, but any kind of Vernonia is wonderful. They do provide a lot of nectar sources for pollinators of many kinds, including monarchs. Over here we have Rudbeckia. Rudbeckia, this is fulgida. There are many different species of Rudbeckia, but this one, like the others, really cater to the pollinators.
Yeah. Nice.
And then just behind it, we have Coreopsis. This is called Gold Standard. It's Coreopsis tripteris. It gets nice and tall, about 5-6 feet tall, and again, just a pollinator magnet.
So we also got things that aren't open yet.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we're even coming into, we're standing here in mid-August, and, we are looking, this is an Aster oblongifolium, Symphotrichum oblongifolium. This is a selection called Twilight Sky. It's a big meatball.
Yeah, it is a big meatball, but there's no pruning. You're not doing any pruning in these trial beds.
We have not cut that back. When you rub the leaves, they smell really good. I won't expect this to start blooming until late September at the earliest, but it connects, the pollinators are still eating at that time, and this will bloom all the way through into November. It's providing food sources for those pollinators really late into the season before they go into dormancy.
And is a perfect little ornamental plant that's not out of place.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, everything else in your garden is going to be done.
It's done, but it's providing that season, seasonal interest.
Hi, Steve from Northcreek Nursery here. Going to show a few plants that are blooming in August in our gardens that have a lot of interest, a lot of pollinator activity. One's a new plant, Scutellaria incana, prairie snow. This came from a gentleman named Henry Eilers, who actually has a Rudbeckia named after him, but he is a tremendous plantsman. Found this in Illinois, and we're going to feature it. It's white and has a very subtle touch of blue, but you can see some native bees on it in the background. Behind it is Boltonia asteroides. This is just a straight species. It's a little taller than the selections. It has these small flower, but very abundant. Gets to be, I'm standing about 6 inches lower than the bed that it's in. So say it's about 5 to 6 foot tall. And right behind me here is a panicum that's not on the market, but we look at different panicums. One feature that we like is a panicum that stays very upright and doesn't open, especially late in the season when they have a tendency. blue foliage. So it's an unnamed selection, but maybe it would be something, because Northcreek does evaluations of our own plants to find those best plants that, again, stand the test of time. So Panicum virgatum, a selection. I want to show you a ground cover that we introduced a few years ago, Lysimachia laciniata burgundy mist. Burgundy mist because the new growth has this beautiful burgundy color. This is about the mature size of this plant. It blooms quite a bit, much more heavy in June, but there's actually flowers that will continue to come out through the season and into the summertime. But it's a little aggressive, which is a good thing because it takes up space, and you can see it's making a beautiful edge along this garden. It'll connect to a couple other we have here, and this is a great utility plant, highly ornamental, and I think it's just really going to be a great plant in the future.
Hi, I'm Arden with Northcreek Nurseries, here with a few other plants that are late blooming for your garden to extend seasonal interest. To my right, I've got Andropogon Blackhawks with this dark, beautiful dark foliage. It's blooming now and providing food for pollinators. And immediately to my right is Sorghastrum nutans Golden Sunset. Stands up really nice and tall with these beautiful yellow inflorescences. On my left, I have Solidago Fireworks. This is a beautiful structural plant. It will begin blooming here in the next couple of weeks. And here we have Eupatorium perfoliatum. This is a great plant with nice broad leaves, can handle many different kinds of soil types, and will start blooming here very shortly.
So you're standing in the perennial plant of the year for next year?
Yeah, 2025 perennial plant of the year is going to be Pycnanthemum muticum. It's a pollinator magnet. Swimming with blue-winged wasps and all other kinds of bees. Maybe not immediately, but
yeah, right. Yeah, I see one of the
really
blue-winged
good
wasps
when you rub the leaves, and yeah, just really great mid-height border plant that will help occupy space in your garden and provide habitat and pollinator food sources throughout the summer.
Right. Is this a bit of a change in picking perennial? I mean, perennial plants of the year in the past have been highly, ornamental. You know, yeah. This was definitely a nod toward the pollinator.
Straight species.
Straight species. It's a straight species. Great pollinator plant.
I think that there are people who are certainly learning more about the value that plants can play and the role in shaping our environments and helping out the wildlife, both for food sources and for habitat.
You got one more that's really showing off here in the late summer.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce you to Rudbeckia American Gold Rush. This comes from a friend of ours, Brent Horvath, at Intrinsic Garden, and it is a hybrid between Rudbeckia fulgida and Rudbeckia diamii. The nice thing about this plant is it's super floriferous. It's been blooming for weeks now. It's going to continue to bloom for many, many more weeks. You can see it's just up to mid-thigh. It has a lot of pollinator activity. One of the nice features in this hybridization was that this doesn't get black spot like just the straight species does. So it's highly ornamental. It's a great plant. It's perfectly hardy. And this is the first perennial that achieved the AHS award a couple years ago. So it's been touted as just a fantastic garden-worthy perennial.
Yeah, and you haven't done any cutbacks on this.
There's no cutbacks.
This is just what it did. It stayed there, and then it started blooming midsummer. And
3 years from a couple plugs.
From a few plugs, yeah.
3 years from. So you can see it's aggressive, but
it's an area you don't have to mulch.
Vigorous.
You don't have to mulch, and
you
that's
don't have
really
to mulch.
key.
You don't have to maintain it.
Taking up space and filling gaps. It's really important, especially as your gardens kind of get bigger. And we want low maintenance, and this is exactly low maintenance. And super, super great for pollinator value.
Nice. So thank you, Steve and Arden, again for being on the two videos this morning. One is a tour. Again, if you haven't seen the actual tour of the nursery, we're talking about a lot of interesting things that they've You know, this nursery is just absolutely incredible. And you're, you know, between the native plants and the biological controls you're using and filtering your water and all the other things that you're doing, you know, this is an example of how we can have a major impact in the world, but with a low footprint. You know, we're not stomping on it while we're doing it. Right. You know, that's the beauty of it. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks again for featuring us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.